Picture the most powerful military organization in human history. Armies of genetically engineered super soldiers, a fortress that has stood for 10,000 years, enemies on every side that would make your nightmares file a complaint, and sitting at the center of all of it, locked in a vault that makes Fort Knox look like a biscuit tin, is a single document. Written by the most powerful being humanity has ever produced, sealed so thoroughly that not even the people guarding it have read it, and nobody, in 10,000 years, has dared to open it. That's the Terminus Decree, the Imperium's ultimate last resort. A piece of paper so dangerous that the Emperor himself decided it was better to leave it unread than to let anyone know what it said. And here's what makes this genuinely unsettling. There are theories about what's inside it, and one of them, if it's true, would shatter everything the Imperium has built in 10,000 years of war, faith, and sacrifice. We'll get to that. Stay with me. Let's establish the basics. The Terminus Decree is a sealed document of unknown contents, stored in a vault beneath the Grey Knight's fortress monastery on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. It was created by the Emperor of Mankind himself, reportedly during the Horus Heresy, right before he was interred on the Golden Throne for what turned out to be a very long time. The document is protected by hundreds of psychically charged seals maintained by the Grey Knight's most powerful psykers. The vault itself sits within a heavily warded chamber that has never been breached in 10,000 years. The only person authorized to even approach it is the Supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knights, the single highest-ranking member of the most secretive chapter in the entire Imperium. Not the Inquisition, not the High Lords of Terror, not any other Space Marine chapter, just one person at any given time in the entire galaxy. And crucially, even they have not opened it. Because written on the outside of the decree are conditions, prerequisites that must be met before the document can even be unsealed. And this is where it gets interesting, because those conditions are themselves a secret. Nobody outside of the Supreme Grand Master knows what they are, which means somewhere in the Imperium right now, events could be unfolding that tick every box on that list, and nobody except one very serious man in grey power armour would even know it. That is either the most reassuring security measure ever devised, or the most catastrophic oversight in human history. Possibly both. Which raises the obvious question: if the standard 40k Tuesday involves chaos invasions, tyrannid hive fleets eating entire sectors, and orcs just existing loudly everywhere, what could possibly be bad enough to qualify? The Emperor wrote the Terminus Decree at the worst moment in human history. His most beloved son had just betrayed him. Half the Space Marine legions were corrupted. The entire Great Crusade, 2 centuries of conquest and sacrifice, was collapsing in real time. He was preparing for every contingency, and the Terminus Decree was apparently the contingency beyond all others. The man responsible for actually making it happen was Malcador the Sigillite, the Emperor's closest advisor, oldest ally, and arguably the most powerful human psyker who ever lived after the Emperor himself. Malcador founded the Grey Knights, handpicking the original members from the surviving Space Marine legions and personally overseeing their creation. He also used his immense psychic power to hide Titan inside the warp during the Heresy, keeping the nascent chapter safe while the galaxy burned around them. And if that wasn't enough, when the Emperor left to confront Horus in the final battle of the Heresy, somebody had to sit on the Golden Throne and keep it running in his absence. Malcador volunteered. The throne is so catastrophically draining that even the greatest psyker alive couldn't survive it for long. When the Emperor returned mortally wounded, Malcador was lifted from the throne as a withered shell and died within moments. He gave everything he had, right up until the last second, and history barely remembers his name. In a setting full of celebrated heroes, Malcador might be the most important person nobody talks about. The Grey Knights themselves were built from the ground up to be the Imperium's ultimate weapon against demonic corruption, and the numbers back that up. In 10,000 years of fighting demons, warp entities, and the full corruption of chaos on a daily basis, not a single Grey Knight has ever fallen to the dark side. Not one. The Adeptus Custodes, the Emperor's own personal guard, share that same record. Between them, they represent the two most incorruptible fighting forces in the entire Imperium, which says a lot about everybody else. Their Supreme Grand Masters carry two things that no one else in the Imperium carries: the knowledge of where the Terminus Decree is kept, and the burden of knowing they may one day have to open it. They don't know what's inside, they just know that if the conditions are met, the decision falls to them, alone, with no guidance, no precedent, and no way to know if they're making the right call. Think about that for a moment. The most important decision in human history delegated to one person with no instructions. That is a genuinely awful job description, and nobody even gets to put it on their CV. And here's what keeps this from being just an interesting historical footnote. Those conditions on the outside of the decree have never been triggered. But the galaxy right now, 10,000 years after the Emperor wrote it, is in arguably its worst shape ever. The Great Rift has torn reality in half. Chaos is closer to terror than it has been since the heresy itself, which means somewhere in the galaxy, a Supreme Grand Master is watching events unfold and quietly doing the maths. Titan is not a normal moon. During the Horus Heresy, it was hidden entirely inside the warp, taken out of reality to keep the fledgling Grey Knights safe while they were being created. An entire celestial body disappeared into the immaterium for years because the Emperor and Malcador decided that was the most practical solution. Just yeeted a whole moon into hell for a few years and retrieved it later like a coat from a cloakroom. Standard operational thinking for the period. The fortress monastery built there is effectively impregnable. Demonic incursions, orbital bombardments, 10 millennia of enemies who would very much like to know what's in that vault. Nothing has gotten through. The psychic defences alone are enough to make any unauthorised visitor deeply regret their life choices, and that's before you account for the Grey Knights themselves, who are, as established, some of the most dangerous warriors in existence. Going after the Terminus Decree would require getting past the warp itself, then Titan's orbital defences, then the fortress walls, then the psychic wards, then the Grey Knights personally. At some point you have to ask yourself if the document is worth it. The answer, almost certainly, is no. The Sanctum Sanctorum where the decree is kept is the innermost point of all of this. The location is only passed from Supreme Grand Master to Supreme Grand Master. There is no written record of it, no map, no secondary access. If the current Supreme Grand Master died tomorrow with that knowledge unshared, the decree would be sealed for good, which is either a catastrophic oversight or a deliberate failsafe, depending on how you read the Emperor's intentions. And honestly, given his track record, it could be either. Nobody knows what the Terminus Decree says. That means the 40k community has had 10,000 years of in-universe and several decades of real-world time to come up with theories, and some of them are extraordinary. The most discussed theory is that it contains instructions to kill the Emperor, not as an act of betrayal, but as a mercy. The idea being that the Emperor's existence on the Golden Throne is actively making things worse, feeding the Chaos Gods, or preventing humanity from evolving beyond its current form. The decree might explain how to end his life in a controlled way, and what needs to happen in the aftermath to prevent civilization from collapsing entirely. This one makes a horrible amount of sense, which is exactly why it is uncomfortable to think about. The second major theory is that it contains instructions to complete the Webway project. The Emperor's original plan was to build a safe passage through the Webway so humanity could travel without using the warp at all, cutting off chaos from its primary route of influence. Magnus the Red accidentally destroyed the project during the heresy. Maybe the decree explains how to finish it, even now, even without the Emperor to lead it. Theory 3 involves the Void Dragon, a literal god of technology currently imprisoned beneath Mars. Some believe the decree contains its location and instructions for how to weaponize it. which is the kind of plan that sounds insane right up until you remember that this is the same organisation that regularly uses virus bombs and cyclonic torpedoes to deal with minor inconveniences. And then there's Theory 4, which is the one that really sits with you. The decree is blank. There is no plan. The Emperor, for all his power and foresight, did not have an answer. The blank decree is the acknowledgement that some situations have no solution, and the entire point of the ritual surrounding it is to make whoever opens it understand that the next move has to be entirely their own. No divine guidance, no imperial wisdom, just a person standing in a vault holding an empty piece of paper at the end of the world. That one is my personal favourite because it is exactly the kind of thing this setting would do. Here's what the Terminus Decree really is, underneath all the lore and the speculation. It's a pressure valve. It's the acknowledgement that even the Emperor of mankind, the most powerful human being who ever lived, knew there were situations beyond his ability to plan for. He built the greatest military empire in history, created demigod sons to lead it, and still sat down at some point during the worst war in human history and wrote a document that essentially says, if things get bad enough, here. That's not reassuring at all, is it? And in a setting where the official position is that things are fine and humanity will prevail, having the Emperor's own contingency plan locked in a vault on Titan is the loudest possible admission that things might not bloody be fine at all. And consider what it means that the conditions still haven't been met. The Imperium has survived demon Primarchs returning from the warp. It has survived hive fleets that consumed entire star systems. It has survived the Eye of Terror cracking open and swallowing half the galaxy. And through all of it, whatever the Emperor wrote on the outside of that decree has not been triggered. Either the conditions are so catastrophically specific that nothing in 10,000 years of unrelenting horror has qualified, or something is still coming that makes everything so far look like a warm-up. Neither of those options is particularly comforting. Whatever's in that decree, one person alive knows the conditions for opening it. And somewhere in the Eye of Terror, in the demon worlds and the corrupted fleets and the ancient hatred of 10,000 years, something is probably working very hard to make sure those conditions are met. Or to make sure they never are. Either way, that vault on Titan remains sealed, and the galaxy keeps burning, and the Grey Knights keep watching. So that's the Terminus Decree. The galaxy's most important unread document, guarded by its most incorruptible warriors, written by a man who has been dying slowly for 10,000 years, containing instructions that might save humanity or finish it off entirely. Nobody knows. Nobody is rushing to find out. What do you think is inside it? Drop your theory in the comments because the speculation on this one is genuinely some of the best in the entire hobby. If this video hit different, smash the like button and subscribe, because we are only just getting started on the deep lore mysteries of 40k, and every single one of them is this good. See you in the next one, you filthy heretics.